Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of TV is Our Real Mom. I'm Dave.
I'm Katie.
And this is our weekly Survivor recap podcast in which we share our thoughts on the latest episode of Survivor. Tonight was episode 7 of Survivor Kaoh Rong. And what is your biggest takeaway from this episode, Katie?
Sorry, what? Say again.
What's your biggest takeaway from the episode?
Well, it's hard because I had such a different feeling about the episode right up until the very end, and now I just feel like bummed out.
Yeah.
Really hard because not only were the brains they're clearly the underdogs, and of the brains, I mean, after tonight, I like Aubrey a little bit more than I did. Mostly because of the Oregon Trail reference thing.
That was brilliant.
But also because of Neil had game and we didn't get to see it, and I'm really bummed about it.
Yeah, that is probably just as sad as the fact that, you felt so bad for Neil because he wanted to play so bad and it meant so much to him, and it was heartbreaking the way he had to go out. Not just sad because of that, but yeah, sad because us as viewers never got to see him like what he was capable of as a Survivor strategic player. So it's just a bummer all around.
He had such an interesting, quiet style of gameplay that I thought we were going to just get to see so much of come merge time. And I was like, oh, finally we'll get to see Neil play a little bit. But no, we won't. We won't get to see him play at all.
Damn you, Mount St. Neil.
Mount St. Neil erupted and took Neil with it.
Took him out of the game. The magmatic pus just destroyed Neil's
gross.
game.
There was a lot of pus in tonight's episode, but thankfully I had finished my dinner. Sometimes I'm eating during Survivor, but I was not eating during that.
Yeah.
That was quite nasty. The thing on his back, if I just randomly found something like that on my back, I'd be like, oh dear Lord.
Yeah, that's cancer.
But I'm dead. Well, yeah. They are covered. Like, their bodies are never going to be the same. Like, they're going to have scars and welts forever. But that's probably how it is for any season of Survivor. But this season in particular
it's probably just not as bad most of the time, I guess, for infections and stuff. But this season's bad.
I don't think anyone should ever go to Cambodia. This is hardly an advertisement for it.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stay away from Cambodia.
That's a good choice. I think these people will too now.
Yeah, so poor Neil ends up getting medevac from the game.
So all your concern for Neil about you were right to be worried for him because they were all gunning for him anyway.
Yeah, they were going to go for Aubrey simply because they thought he had an idol, and they were right.
Which he did.
What I want to know is, well, I'll let you finish that thought first.
Oh, go ahead. I forgot it already.
You were saying that for all my concern of Neil being a target,
he didn't get voted out. It ended up being nothing strategy related at all that took him out.
Yeah, although it was clear that I was right that he was target number 1. If they didn't know he had an idol or think he had an idol, he would have been.
But
first one
I don't want to get into numbers and split votes and stuff, but. If they would have found out that 4 votes were going on Aubrey, he could have given it to Aubrey, and then they could have put 4 votes on someone else. He would have only gotten 3. That other person would have gone home. Braun goes down in the numbers, and Neil and Aubrey are still there.
Yeah, so and I have to believe that Neil would have somehow figured it out who they were voting for.
Yeah.
The way in this whole episode, everyone is sharing information so loosey-goosey. Like,
oh my gosh, I could not believe it.
Neil, Nick, and Aubrey are the only ones that get how the game is played. They're like, everyone's
just gonna blurt things.
Everyone's just gonna share everything, like air out all the laundry, and we'll just sit back and take it all in. Yeah, if that's how it's going out there, I have to believe that Neil would have easily figured out who the votes were going on, and Aubrey, they would have came out on top. And alas, we never get to know how that would have turned out.
Such a bummer.
Yes.
That's a bummer.
Such a bummer. But yeah, what I really want to know is, did Neil really have the idol in that pocket? Was that what was the bulge? Was
I
that
believe
Neil's bulge?
I believe I saw on Twitter that Neil said he did not have his idol in that pocket, but thanks for noticing my bulge, bro, or something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. I have to believe that if that a smart guy like Neil is not going to keep his idol in a pocket that anyone can see, and yeah, I just have to believe that's true. And
I mean,
he even said at one point towards the end there, he's like, I'm gonna have to reach into the old family jewels and pull out the idol, and he reached towards his crotch. So
that's another thing. He was so funny, and he had such a dry, quiet sense of humor, and we barely got to see it. And that's
yeah,
another
it's
thing I'm bummed out
finally
about.
started to emerge towards the end of the towards this part of the season here, and now he's gone. So, but yeah,
don't you think that Jason and Sydney probably recognized how smart Neil was, and they probably just kind of figured he does have an idol, and so they kind of surmised this mirage of a bulge in his shorts that, oh, he does have the idol. I mean, they probably suspected it whether or not there was a bulge.
No,
and they were right to do so.
There was definitely a bulge in that pocket.
No, but I know. I'm just saying they probably had other reasons to suspect he had the idol.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he really does have it or not. They just they're like, oh, he has the idol, and that's all it takes, you know. But my point is that he was. It sounds like he was keeping it in his underwear, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just funny that that's where he was keeping it, and yet that bulge in his pocket was what they were like, oh, he's got the idol, you know. So, anywho, go ahead.
I don't know that I had anything else to add. I mean,
nothing to say. Nothing to say.
Well, I've got lots of things to say, I suppose, but not much more about Neil's bulge.
No, I mean, we're good on that. I was seeing if you had a different topic to talk about.
Oh, well, I don't know. Which way do you want to go? We're going to talk about the brains and the division that Braun just thinks they're running everything. I was waiting until the merge to decide whether or not the Brauns were really bullies, but everyone's calling them that. So everyone there on the beach is calling them that, and it's kind of hard to deny it any longer. Like, I don't like Scott and Jason when they're together, especially. When they were apart, they were better, but I'm not a big fan right now.
Yeah, they very much do fit that archetype of the jocks. Like, that side of them really comes out when they get together. It's just like jocks in high school together again. So yeah, and it's kind of disgusting.
I mean, were they actually just drunk? Why were they just so willy-nilly with that idol information?
I think they were drunk because there was not only wine going around, but there was rum. You have empty stomachs. You haven't been eating, very well, so it doesn't take very much to get them drunk. And I'm sure they weren't holding back either. So yeah, they were drunk.
See, that's stupid. And Nick, can we talk about Nick? Nick arrived tonight, which I did not see coming. He completely blew me away. But
Nick's coming at the party.
Right at the merge feast, Nick's like, I'm not going to get drunk. And that is the sign of a Survivor player. You do not give in to the surroundings, the temptations, the alcohol, the food. You don't let that sway you from the end goal. And he kept that in sight, whereas these two jackasses just went to town and blew all their secrets. That could have, I thought Scott was going to hold on to that information at least for a while. I mean, you don't owe anything to Jason. Look out for yourself. First of all, don't just spill it to Jason about Ty's idol as soon as you have the chance. And he didn't
Jason?
even just tell.
I thought he wanted Jason to know.
I mean, I don't think you should tell anyone that right away. I don't
about
think
Ty's
you should.
idol?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he wanted to tell Jason right away because Jason's like his number two or he's the number two to Jason. So, and they wanted to have the super idol opportunity. I don't think you share it to Nick right away.
Can I finish my thought? Can I finish?
No. I had something to say too. So I don't think you share it with Nick right away, but you do share it with Jason right away, in my personal opinion.
I don't think you share it with anyone right away. You don't just wait. As the minute you all get together, you just share all the information. I mean, maybe that is what some people do with the merge fees, but I feel like if you're really looking out for yourself and not looking out for Jason, which you shouldn't be looking out for anyone but yourself, I mean, you don't just blurt that information out right away, but what do I know?
You know nothing.
Apparently.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think you're right. You should always keep information to yourself until it's absolutely necessary to divulge such. But when you have a close number two, I think you might consider just sharing it, straight up.
But see, the difference between Jason sharing information about Neil's idol and Scott sharing information about Ty's idol is that Scott should have been looking at Ty as another ally. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and so he kind of betrayed Ty by just going
Yeah.
straight to Jason and telling him. Whereas Jason divulging that information about Neil, he's got nothing to lose with Neil. But Scott, I don't know if he had permission from Ty to say that, and if Ty even wanted to work with Jason. But now Jason and Nick know about his idol, which he had no say in telling them.
Yeah. Yeah, to me the real big problem though is Nick's right there. And you're sharing you're sharing both these idols with Nick, and it's like, man, come on.
And so now all of a sudden Nick knows where every
Nick
idol
knows where
is.
all three idols
He doesn't know
are.
about Jason's necessarily.
Wait, no, they tell him about Neil's. I don't think they tell
Ty's
and not Jason's. I think you're right. Yeah, I thought they did reveal all three to him, but no, it was just Neil's and Ty's.
But they had no business revealing any idols to him. That was stupid.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I feel like the other big story other than Neil, getting medevaced is Nick in this episode. I mean, Nick was amazing, man.
Yeah, I was like, I thought his first confessional, I'm like, oh, he'll probably go home. They're setting it up for him to look like an idiot. And then every confessional, I was like, he doesn't really sound like an idiot. He kind of sounds like he's doing this right. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, was Nick just all of a sudden good at this game when he was just waiting until the merge to show everybody? Because I couldn't believe what a 180. I mean, I'm sure there's people in the audience who still dislike him, but you have to respect that the guy's got moves, and he thought very carefully about which side they should go to. And while the audience might want him to go with the brains because they're underdogs and we kind of are rooting for them right now, it does make more sense for him to go with the idiotic bronze, who he can easily get information out of and manipulate. So
yeah, he did say they're just idiots.
He did.
He literally said that. They're just idiots. So yeah, no, I agree that he thought things through, and although I would rather see him team up with brains just to help them out because they're the underdogs, and I always pull for the underdogs, it's smarter to go with the brawn for sure.
Yeah, it's going to suck if the brains go down one by one and it just ends up, unless you can see Nick just completely bamboozle them, which might in itself be insufferable because he can be kind of douchey. Otherwise, I mean, I don't know. It could be uninteresting if that's how it ends up going.
Yeah. So I have a question about the beginning of the episode.
Okay.
Why was Scott so pissed off about the Julia vote? He was so pissed, and he
was really mad. I didn't expect that.
I didn't expect that either, because where does he get off? I don't understand how he suddenly was the one in control. Did it as soon as he got his way, all of a sudden it's like, now I have the right to be pissed at Aubrey for not voting with us?
I don't know. I wonder if they had a plan going in, or Scott, Ty, and Julia believed that Aubrey and Joe were voting with them, and then they didn't.
Yeah, there must have been more of a group consensus that they were all voting for Peter because they all didn't like him. And I have to believe that Aubrey and Joe were sort of lying to them. Aubrey was more so keeping both options open, but Joe just thought they were just lying to them about.
I felt really bad for Joe.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, that chicken's doing better in this game than I am.
Yeah, exactly. That was very funny.
Really bad for Joe. I was like, Joe's funny. I mean, he didn't really know what was going on, and he's not, strategically very smart, but damn, I sure felt sad for him in that moment.
Yeah. He's probably in trouble.
Well, he is in trouble. They don't even have Neil anymore. So.
Yeah, they're screwed. But yeah, another as good as Nick has been in this episode, as amazing his game got, and there was a huge turnaround for him. There was just as big of a turnaround for Debbie in the other
Oh my
direction.
God, yeah.
For me,
What
for
happened?
me, I went from like being so down on her the first couple episodes, and then I'm like, damn, Debbie's got game. Like,
Damn,
but
Debbie.
really, all that happened was they went from Debbie being sort of just crazy person to showing her actually like being aggressive and offensive, as she calls it, and that was enough to convince me like, oh, she got game. And now you get a different style of edit, and just in one episode, boom, I'm like, oh my god, she's horrible.
I mean, that early morning alliance thing with Ty, I don't even
Oh
think Ty spoke words. I
yeah,
think Debbie was just like, I like you, Ty. I don't even think she said a sentence. She was like, I like you, Ty. I want to alliance with you, or
yeah.
something just stupid like that. And
Yeah,
Ty
that
didn't
was
even barely
garbage.
respond. And she was like, okay, he's in. We got him. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what the hell is that?
yeah, I mean, please, like, does she really think that's how it works? Like, okay,
That was
gameplay, here's how gameplay works. I just walk up to whoever I want to. I like you. We in alliance now. Good, we done.
with
Game
6 people
over.
watching and no
Yeah.
verbal confirmation from the other person.
Just a real obvious handshake in front of everybody watching, and my god, that was just
That
like,
was bizarre.
yeah, she went from like decent to just the most atrocious gameplay I've ever seen in the entire show, I think. I mean, at
That
least
might
she's
have been worse than Peter.
yeah, that was definitely worse than Peter. Like,
That
you're
was
better,
bad.
the floating strategy is better than
Oh,
what she
by
did.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The freaking chaos strategy, like Russell Hantz burning things, is better than, you know,
And it
than
really
just
ended up biting her team in the ass because Nick was considering both sides, but or Debbie is the one that really turned anybody off of working with the brains. And so it really hurt not only her, but everyone else in her alliance, which does not include Ty, as much
yeah.
as she thinks it does.
Yeah. So we thought Ty was going to be the medevac, but
I did. I'm happy I'm wrong, but I wish it would have been someone else,
yeah,
not
anybody
Neil.
else, like Scott. If only they would have taken Scott out of the game.
I know, suddenly I don't like Scott anymore. And now I'm bummed that Ty's still around, but he's slumming it with these assholes, Like, I hope he could easily get bullied out of that idol. That's still a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely a
yeah,
possibility.
I'm still worried for him. He might not get medevaced, but I don't like who he's with.
Yeah, it's looking like you could see this become a bullies dominating season for
Yeah,
sure.
although it looks like there's going to be some friction between Sydney and Jason next week, so that's cool.
Yeah, well, is it cool? I mean, because it blows up. It
Probably
could
will hurt Sydney.
Yeah, it could entirely blow up Sydney's game. Everything was going so well for her, and she's in such a good spot. And if she messes with things the way they are now, then it could really, really mess up her game.
However, she knows about Jason's idol, so she could tell people about that.
That's
If
true.
she does it in a smart way, and I think she's a smart person, but if she does it correctly, it could benefit her. But that's speculation for next week.
Yes. We'll see. But yeah, the merge was interesting. Like we said, Nick just was the shining player in that. Everyone else is getting drunk and just being obnoxious, and his confessional was quite compelling, talking about, I'm just going to sit here and observe, and see what happens. And he did talk a lot in this episode about not liking the bronze overconfidence, but
it's something he can use.
Exactly. He saw it as a good thing because if he ever wants to blindside them, they won't see it coming. And when he said that, I just got this impression like, okay, that's going to come into play, but I don't think it's going to be this episode. I feel like they want us to think maybe he's going to do a blindside on him in this episode, but I feel like it's something Nick's going to just wait on for the exact right time, which is also brilliant if that's what he has in mind. So I guess we'll see about that.
I hope it works out for him. I mean, if you're going to pick the lesser of two douchebags, I think you got to go with Nick over Jason and Scott.
Right. So, so how do you feel about Aubrey's place in the game at this point?
I don't know. Neil walked off the beach with that idol, that son of a bitch. I can't believe
she called him a son of a bitch.
I mean,
Like
I would be thinking
her.
the exact same thing, but you can't call him out when his survivor heart is broken right now. You can't be like, hey, Neil, what the hell? Give me your idol in front of all these people, you know? But I don't know I liked how she talked to Nick and opened communications with Nick. She's aware that Debbie's being an absolute moron.
Yeah, I liked how she said that, you know, someone's gotta talk to these people like a human being, you know, like
Yeah.
she's like, you know, Debbie's doing this all wrong. One of us brains has got, she didn't want to, she like didn't feel like it, but she's like, okay, I guess I have to get up and go like talk to these people because no one else is gonna do it. So okay.
But at the same time, if you're reading the edit, she's getting a lot of airtime and she's getting a lot of coverage, and she's smart and she's funny. Her confessionals are really good. And I feel like she might be seen as, I don't know, maybe someone you can use if there ends up being a fracture between Sydney and Jason or somewhere else in the Bronze and Beauty Alliance. Because who is she surrounded by? Joe and Debbie? I mean, that's garbage. So someone might see Aubrey as someone they could potentially work with, but and she's smart enough to utilize an opportunity like that, I think. But unless that happens, I mean, they're going to get rid of her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. How else?
Unless maybe she'll find an idol. Maybe she will win some immunity challenges. I don't know. She's got opportunities, but
yeah, right now I'm leaning towards her going relatively far into the game as our sort of underdog hero, but unfortunately the underdog hero is going to lose this time around. But I still stick by that somebody like Sydney and either Scott or Jason will go deep, and Michelle and Julia, or one or the other, will go deep, and that's kind of where I'm sitting.
Julia was back to being completely invisible once again. Yeah. So I don't know.
Her youth really comes through at times, like in that challenge when she lost at the end and just kind of like shyly, like awkwardly, like.
But did I tell you she's she's good at challenges. She got third place. That's pretty good.
Was it third or second? She
got third. Ty got second.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, she did very well in the challenge, I thought. And I love to watch these first merge immunity challenges now, and kind of I think to myself, who's throwing it and who's trying hard. And do you think anybody here threw it, you know, falls off early, doesn't want to come across as a threat? Because to me, that's pretty smart. If you feel like you're in a decent spot, don't win immunity. You know, if you really feel that way. I
feel like maybe Sydney.
Sure.
But it really, some people looked legitimately angry when they.
Yeah.
Like Jason looked really mad when he.
Yeah. Like I wondered if Jason was like putting on an act, but I'm like, you know, that looks pretty real to me. He's a really good actor. He looked mad that he lost. So.
No, I think anger comes out in that kind of a person. So I think that's.
And it seemed sincere, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The
commentary else? By Jeff in that challenge was something else.
Oh yeah, this was the most blatant I think I've ever heard it. Where to me, and now I am convinced that Jeff does this on purpose.
He's doing it on purpose. Yeah. When they said when Jeff said Ty's balls are banging together, you
never
could
good.
See,
he said that's never good.
No, but they showed Neil laughing. Like Neil looked like he's total, like he was watching for that kind
Neil
of stuff.
knows all about it. He knows the story. Yeah.
Another reason I'm super bummed that he's gone.
And then right after that, he's like, Nick's balls are all over the place.
Yeah, that was the other one I was trying to remember.
Yeah, that
Yeah, that was
classic.
good stuff. That was really top-notch ball commentary from Jeff.
Yeah. Jeff knows as soon as he's like, oh, we got an immunity challenge with balls today. Can't wait to throw out some innuendo. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, he had fun with that one. It was enjoyable for me as well.
Yes, he did. Can you remind me of Aubrey's Oregon Trail quote at all?
It was just really long. Like she's saying she was basically saying you can't depend on Neil's idol in this game. She was saying
you have to pave your own way.
Oregon Trail, you have to ford your own
your own
stream or whatever. You have to cock your own wagon. And sometimes you get dysentery and die.
Like Neil.
Which on this season of Survivor seems like it's literally actually possible for these people to get dysentery and die.
Do you think it was fate that Neil has the word knee in his name?
I think that's reaching a little bit, but
Neil, no, it was meant to be his destiny.
It could be. Maybe he's gonna change his name now.
Yeah, he's gonna change it to elbow,
or no, to healthy.
Something that's not a joint that bangs.
Oh, that sucks. I'm so bummed. I'm still so bummed about it.
Yeah, like how could you? It's everyone else had those things too, but it was mainly because it was where it was on his body. Mm-hmm. Like if he gets that infection anywhere else on his body, it's okay. Well, not anywhere else, but somewhere else, and it just happens to be on his knee. Oh.
And it was so sad because he was like, oh, Jeff, I feel fine. I'm good. I'm not in pain at all. And you could just see it was just denial.
Yeah.
And it sucked because you knew that he was just gonna be devastated. But he handled it. He handled it very well. Once he got the tears out, which
he gave a nice little speech to everybody and everything.
But I liked how he was also a little bit cocky. He was like,
he's like, you guys,
I'm getting evacuated.
He's like, you guys are really lucky because I'm getting pulled.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have been screwed.
But my theory about the tiny jury seems like it's not going to happen because he still gets to be on the jury. So that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, as long as everything goes smoothly, it took a long time, I think, for Liz to get her stuff,
No, she got flown back to America. Like she needed surgery. I don't think Neil's is at that point.
Oh, I thought Neil would definitely need surgery.
Well, whatever they're going to do for him, they're going to treat it there apparently, and he's going to be on the jury and he's going to stay in Cambodia.
I mean, they can keep treating, even if he needs more treatment, they can keep treating him there and he can just pop in for juries. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, they said at the end there that he has Ponderosa video, so if we watch that, we could probably find out more about
his injury.
What's going on with Neil at that point. Yeah. So man, I feel like there's got to be more to talk about with this episode, but man.
Well, it was merge. Yeah. I mean, it was, to be honest, it was kind of the Nick show. I mean, it was weird how it just went from Nick being completely invisible to last week him being kind of douchey to this week just being like way more savvy and aware of everything going on than I gave him credit for. And even his interactions with Michelle were a lot better. He was like, Michelle, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
So I feel
absolutely.
And Michelle was
open to it.
He still was kind of like, we're going with Braun. Like, I feel like he should say, I want to go with Braun. Don't be like, we're going with Braun.
Well, she had already said, I'm thinking Braun.
Yeah.
And so I think he felt at that point at liberty to say, we're going with Braun. But I see what you mean. It might have been better to just be like,
if he had been the first to speak, that would have been worse. But he was not.
Really bad. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think last night when we did our little pre-merge podcast, that we did discuss that possibility that Nick, we haven't seen much from Nick because he's probably playing the kind of game where you lay low and then once you hit the merge, you have your coming out party, and I think that's exactly what happened. So
yeah, I mean, we mentioned it. I didn't believe it would happen.
Yeah,
I had him out.
I don't know that we called it, but we mentioned the possibility of that happening.
Yeah.
For
Crazier
sure.
things. I like that though. I like being surprised by episodes because I didn't see Debbie's stock plummeting that hard. I didn't
Yeah.
see Nick's stock rising that much. So that was cool surprise.
That
Not a
was
word.
cool surprise. Yeah.
That was a cool surprise. But the Neil thing really mellowed that out really quick. That's the thing about the momentum of this season is like you have a really juicy episode with these really cool developments, and then the Neil thing happens, and you're like, oh, that sucks.
I know.
But
Totally sucks. Yeah, I was very much reminded with this episode that, man, how much the edit affects your perception,
it
like,
does.
because all it takes is one episode and boom, Nick's a strong game player, Debbie sucks hard.
Hard.
And yeah, so many things can change just on how they show it to you. So I feel like episodes like this are a reminder that you got to keep in mind, how much, you're only seeing how little you're seeing of what went on out there, and there's no denying that you are at the mercy of what they choose to show to you, and
Yeah.
always keep that in mind, I think, as you're watching.
There's a reason behind who they're showing and what they're showing. So
And they're
it's
very,
good to
very,
remember them.
yeah, they're very, very good at not just totally blatantly obviously showing you why they're showing you this, or
Yeah.
communicating that we don't know why they're showing us this, really. It could be for this reason, it could be for that reason, which is awesome. Makes the show great to watch. So do you think there will be any more medevacs this season?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think there's going
Yeah,
to be at least one more.
at least one more. Okay. Any guesses on who it might be?
Yeah, Grandpa Joe.
You really
I think I
think
said
Grandpa?
that last night.
Yeah. Why do you think Grandpa Joe's going so much? Just because he's old?
Actually, he's didn't have any infections. He seemed fine. But
He had that
everybody
one on
else,
his finger.
he what?
He had one on his finger a couple
Oh, that's
episodes ago.
right.
It was really swollen, but
It's probably healed by now.
yeah, maybe it's healed. They didn't show the doctors looking at it, so I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think that. Because he's old? I don't know. Or Aubrey. I worry about Aubrey, too.
Yeah, she had such a rough time in that first episode. I could see something happening to her again.
But maybe maybe medical will come out more, but no one will get pulled. So
Yeah, it could be that too.
yeah,
Definitely.
I hope we get to see it play out from here.
Yeah. Too many medevacs really just kind of screw up the whole arc of the season.
They're hovering that line right now. We lost. I mean, Caleb, I don't think would have been a strong strategist. I think he would have been a good number and would have gone deep in the game. Unfortunately, I think he's going to get the call long before Neil is, which bums me out really hard because I'd rather watch Neil play a million times over Caleb, just because Neil has a quiet strategy. He's funny. He's good at the game, and we didn't get to see it. I felt way more robbed of seeing Neil's game than I did of Caleb, because I knew what I was going to get with Caleb. I mean, there might have been a couple of surprises here and there, but you knew what you were going to get.
Yeah.
But maybe you'll see down the road, like another season, like when they brought Penner and Russell Swan and Scoopin back, and maybe they'll do something like all the Kaoh Rong people who got medevaced are going to have a tribe, and then they'll, another season like that.
Yeah, I think they could definitely do something like that. Kind of like the Philippines, where they had 3 medevacs and 3 tribes. Definitely could see something like that going down. So, because Neil's to me, Neil's a no-brainer to play again. But maybe other people.
I hope you're right. Yeah.
Maybe
I think
other people might not see it the same way. But especially as we got to this point in the season, Neil has been enjoyable to watch. So Caleb, Neil, and maybe whoever else gets pulled from the game, if that happens, will come back for a Philippines-esque season. Maybe.
Just because I felt like both of the people who've been evacuated at this point, I felt like we really got robbed of what, like I said, Caleb, gameplay not so much, but entertainment maybe. So I felt like we got robbed a little bit.
For sure. For sure. Anything else you want to discuss? maybe sort of just talk now about
predictions.
What we think. Yeah, what we think is going to happen.
Sure.
Next weekend, sort of. Yeah, how things are going to go down.
I don't know, man. I really don't. I mean, it seems pretty obvious, right? The brains are just going to get picked off. So the next 3 weeks we can just not watch because Debbie and Joe and Aubrey on paper, that's how it's going to go down.
Seems like, but I mean, now that they got out the big threat in Neil.
Yeah, they didn't even have to do anything.
I feel like that shakes it up, though. I feel like that changes the way people are looking at it. They're like, why would we pick off the brains now that there's only 3 of them?
And 2 of them are not that good.
And it's Aubrey, Joe, and Debbie. So it's like, do we really want to pick these guys off? You know?
Yeah, that's where I feel like Aubrey might find a crack there.
Yeah, I think maybe Nick's talk of blindsiding the overconfident Bronze could even come into play next week.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, it could. I mean, because if it was me out there, now that Neil's gone, I would have gone after Neil probably. But now that he's gone, you know, Aubrey, Joe, and Debbie.
I liked how Nick was like, I mean, another sign that he's a good player. He's like, I like Aubrey better than any of the other girls out here. And she's the kind of girl I would hang out with, but she's going to, you know, it's not good for me to align with her. So, I mean, emotions don't come into it for him.
Yeah. Just making him sound even better.
It's weird. It was kind of jarring to see him go so quickly from just douche weirdo to, hello, I know how to play Survivor.
Once again, a testament to the edit, I feel like. Yeah. Because everybody has a little bit of all of that, you know, and it's like, depending on the story we're trying to tell, we can pick the sound bites that support that story. And I think, you know, they wanted us to look at Nick as a douchebag, cocky person at the beginning so that we can have this sort of like turnaround for him, which is awesome. I think it's a great edit.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then at the same time you went into this week thinking Michelle and Nick were not going to be on the same page, but he was like, my one alliance is Michelle. And it's like, whoa, so they're just a duo? I mean, maybe that's just in his mind and maybe she's using that to her advantage. But I mean, I think it was a great read on the situation. It's accurate. He can he picked up that Scott and Ty are close right off the bat. He picked up that Julia is in debt to those guys for that vote. And it was accurate. And it you know, a less savvy player would assume that, oh, we're all beauty. We're good. We're all together. But no, he's like, no, I might have Michelle, but I don't feel good about Ty or Julia, you know? So that's good for Nick, man. That's the big takeaway of this episode, I feel like, other than it's poor Neil. Yeah. It was, to me, the biggest takeaway until, of course, the Neil thing happened.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. So next week, you'd think it's going to be Brain for sure?
Well, usually when they put like a fight in the preview, I'm like, oh, that's just for show. That's just a red herring. You know, the whole Sydney and Jason bust up.
Yeah.
But the way Jeff Probst was like, what did he say? He's like, it all comes crumbling to the ground. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound good. Like this could actually be a legitimate.
Yeah, he can't use hyperbole that strong if nothing comes of it, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I know he uses hyperbole, but usually when he says something like that, like last week, they were like, oh, the game changes again. And I mean, it did because it took the person out of the game. Yeah.
That medevac was, totally changed the game because. I
mean, it changed Aubrey's game. Look at poor Aubrey now.
Yeah, exactly. Can we talk a little bit about, like, what do you think happens between Sydney and Jason there? Like, what is going on?
I think Jason's just being an asshole and telling Sydney what to do. Because did you notice that all the talking that Jason and Scott were doing with Nick and everybody, like, Where was Sydney? She was not involved in these conversations. She was just probably back at camp forging bonds with people like they should be doing. But they were just out running their mouths and saying how in control of everything they were. And Sydney probably gets fed up with that. And she's like, what the hell? That'd be
Yeah.
my guess.
Yeah, no, that could be. I honestly, I'm not really sure what I think, causes their dispute, but yeah, she looks pissed off, and I think we might see Storm come out for a little bit.
I'm ready for a storm.
You ready to see some Storm? I don't think we've seen Storm yet.
We were promised storm and we
Yeah.
have not seen it, and I want to see it.
Yeah, so hopefully she even I hope she has a confessional where she says Storm came out and she she's like that was
Yeah.
Storm. That was Storm.
I
And
hope so. Yeah.
that would be cool. But do you think it will actually cause Sydney to move away from her alliance with those two guys, or would that just be dumb and she realizes it?
I think in the end, Sydney's too smart for that. And I think she will probably end up sticking with her tribe, but she will be a lot more wary of them going forward, which would behoove her. But I do still think the brain's probably going to go home next week.
Yes, because if we have 10 left and there's 3 brains, and they managed to get, let's say they managed to get Michelle and Julia and Nick. Okay, that is a 6-4 then. That they have a shot at it, I guess. It's not impossible.
Yeah, I don't know that I see them getting all those 3 people though.
Right. So who do they go for next week if Bronze and Beauty team up?
Probably. I mean,
Debbie or Aubrey?
I think they'd probably just go for Debbie because she's probably going to be more of an obvious annoyance.
Yeah, it's like
So
we can get Aubrey at any point we want. Let's just get Debbie out of here so we don't have to put up with it anymore.
Yeah, I can see them going for Debbie.
Or do you think they go for the threat? Because Aubrey, I feel like, is obviously the bigger threat, and
I don't think they view her. I don't think they view her that way because tonight they were like, "Oh, no one will expect us to vote Aubrey, so it's just going to completely take them by surprise."
Right,
I don't think they view her that way.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, I guess I would put my money on Debbie next week as well. So
yeah, that's a good bet. I would.
We can agree this week.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Anything else you want to add?
Just that we both predicted Joe would be the first one gone after the merge, and he's still there. So
yeah. Yeah, I'd have to look at my boot order list from last night.
Well, I meant with our power rankings. He was on
power rankings. We had Joe. In my boot order, I had Neil at number 10, so I was close on that one. But I had Scott at number 11. So.
Oh, hey, and all of our winner picks are gone.
Yeah, so. That's right. Yeah. So we really suck.
Yeah, quite a bit. We barely made it past the merge.
Granted, though, Neil
he did get voted out.
He probably would have kicked some ass if he would have stayed in there. If he wouldn't have got medevac.
Can we also talk about how the 3 brains so far who have been eliminated all had infections? Do you think there's something at the Brains beach?
Oh, at their beach. That's a good question. And Aubrey has one too.
Yeah, so it's really just Joe. He had the finger thing. Debbie seems fine, but she has the immune system of a horse, so I don't think anything's going to get her.
Yeah, and she's been drinking tainted water too.
Yeah, she can see pathogens in the water.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
she's good.
Yep, she's good. But she's probably getting voted out.
No, you have to wonder that though. Yeah, if the brains got stuck on an infected beach, it's kind of BS.
It's kind of shocking that because Second Chance took place on the exact same beaches. Did they go in there and clean those beaches up? Because no one got medevaced.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, if they're like, okay, this time we got to make sure everyone's hydrated. We can't do digging challenges in the sand during 117-degree temperatures. And we got to clean up these beaches to make sure. Let's go in with some 409, spray down the whole beach, and be good to go.
Or maybe second-time players are just their bodies are used to it, and they're like, whatever, you can't get me.
Yeah, exactly. They're survivor immune now, so they can't get sick out there. Yeah, for sure.
That's how it works. That's science.
It's survivor science.
Yep.
It's the best kind of science.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of TV is Our Real Mom. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you next time when we discuss, when Aubrey gets voted out. Or no, we said Debbie.
Debbie.
All right. All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Good night.
Bye.